Hello everyone and welcome to the round of Q&A where I ask you guys to ask me questions about my record, about myself, about anything having to do with this channel, and we're gonna get right in there with the first question coming from Peach T Angel 95, least favorite and most favorite Arc 2 girl design. I don't usually talk too much about design because I'm someone who talks more about gameplay, but if we're gonna talk about design, we're gonna talk about design. Number one favorite Arc 2 design, it's gotta be Ilia Medeiros for, I guess, reasons. But if we talk about the least favorite Arc 2 design, it's Nemou is just. Whenever I look at this design, I think to myself, "What the fuck are those pants?" Like I don't really think bad about most designs. I will say it's like most designs I'm just going like, even if I don't like them that much, I'm just going like, eh. But if there's something about the design that just makes me go, why is that there? That's usually something that distracts me a little bit. Some people thought I was gonna say Sakuya. I mean, Sakuya has big eyes, but apart from that, her design is actually totally fine. There's actually nothing wrong with her design at all, if you just ignore the eyes. So I don't really mind it at all. I don't think the eyes are really distracting to me at all. Moving on with a question by Guillaume, who asks, "Hi, I would like to figure out how we can win in a B rank. Basically in ranked mirrors, a B rank. Always C rank, get strong characters with uncaps. What's the goal? Get maximum points, get maximum HP. Better with 3 characters instead of 5. So I will definitely say if you have not that strong of an account, which it does sound like, definitely go with 3 characters. And here's the thing about B rank, if you just win every battle, you should probably already get B rank. Like, if you don't lose a single time every day in those 10 matches that you do every day, you probably will get at least B rank. Apart from that, just keep everyone alive and win in 3 turns. If you can win in 3 turns while everyone is alive, that might even be good enough for A rank, because that's also just what it takes to get to A rank. For characters, I would probably say get Yachio. A 4-slot Yachio, which you can get with Magia's chips and with bottles that are on some events. I think there might be even be bottles on the current event. So you can get Yachio to 4-slot, level 100 with 60 out of 60 spirit enhancement. If you have just that already, that Yachio alone will probably already carry you to B rank, maybe even A rank. Yachio kind of breaks mirrors really easily if you're a free-to-play character, if a free-to-play person. Apart from that, some other characters you might want to use are maybe a 4-slot Nanaka. Nanaka is also pretty good still. Apart from that, also maybe an Oriko. Oriko can use her evade active from Spirit Enhancement on turn 1. And if you set up your team that Oriko has the lowest amount of defense of every character on your team, then Oriko will get attacked first. Unless on the enemy team, for example, there are force types, because if you're playing Yachio Nanaka, force types will still attack Yachio Nanaka because they're super effective against her. But outside of super effective type stuff, they will attack the target with the lowest amount of defense, which in your case would on that team be Oriko. So you can have turn 1 Oriko, use an evade active, and apart from that, just win. Like, try and get a connect off. Like on turn 1, if you get 3 discs of the same character, no matter which discs they are, it doesn't really matter. Get 3 discs of the same character, get a connect on turn 2, maybe a connect on turn 3 if you don't win on turn 2, and that's basically about it. If you do what I just said, basically you're like A rank. But it kind of depends on your characters. If you go to the official, to the Magia Record Discord that we have, you can go to the #mirrors channel and you can just ask a little bit about in there. But if you just get a 3-man team that just wins every battle, that's B rank. If you also win every battle without losing a character, that's probably enough for A rank already. So it shouldn't be too difficult. You just need to have some sort of a strategy. The main reason why people don't get higher than like B or A rank is because you kind of need to have some strategy. You can't just throw anything at mirrors and hope stuff happens. But that's basically about it. Now that you have a strategy, should be alright. Moving on, we have a question from Akimon55. I have a question on my record. I play on the Taiwanese server, and here's a question. Here's a thing about the sovereign state of Taiwan. There is actually the Taiwanese server that it's shutting down in December. It just got the the message, that notification that they're shutting down in mid-December or end of December. Which I'm not too surprised by, to be honest, because the Taiwanese server was actually smaller than the North American server, which also shut down. So I guess I could see it coming, but of course it's still sad that it happened. Which means that now the only other server that is still going is the Chinese server, which I think is doing decently, but also not that huge. I guess I'm on the newest season or event right now, and there's a way I can translate my account over to Japan, or do you have to restart my record if I want to play the Japanese version? You have to start a new account. There is no way of transferring an account from one server to the other because all these servers have like their own stuff that they're doing. So sadly, you cannot do that. However, it's actually not that bad starting a new account right now on the Japanese server, mostly because the Japanese server just has a lot of stuff on it that allows you to catch up really quickly, that allows you to like raise your girls really quickly. They have a lot more quality of life improvements that make increasing the power level of an account that is fresh rather easy. Like in like 1 or 2 months, you'll probably be just as strong as you were on the Taiwanese server, probably. Moving on, we have a question from Alicia Scotta Sensio, who asks, do you know that my wife Kure will get added to the game at some point? And if you think so, what do you think she have? I personally think she would be an extra gorilla, and also I love your videos. Thank you so much, Alicia. I do think she's going to get added to the game at some point. I'm pretty certain about that. I think it's going to happen when she inevitably dies in the anime. I mean, she's definitely going to die, right? There's no way she survives the anime. But I assume she's going to die in the final season, and when she does, then probably after the anime has ended, she'll get added to the game. I think she'll probably like 2 charge discs, 2 Excel discs, something like that. Maybe Magia focused. It's hard to say exactly what it's going to be like. I assume she's going to be rather average, probably in power level. We don't really know. But I assume probably something like 2 charge, 2 Excel discs, maybe a little bit Magia focused. Moving on, we have a question from Sander Hardsoft, who asks, is it going to be more dimension crossover or Magic JP, just like my Magical Liquid Nanoha and Bakemonogatari? What is the next dimension crossover? Like the YOLO option that I want, it's gotta be JoJo. We gotta have a JoJo in there at some point. You gotta have a JoJo crossover. But aside from the YOLO crossover, the other 2 crossovers that I think could actually happen, and I would really like to have, is on one hand Higurashi or Umineko crossover. That would be really good. Higurashi just got a new anime, and I think they also just recently got their own. I think they got their own mobile game, so it would make sense to cross over with Higurashi. And there was even an OVA for Higurashi like a whole bunch of years ago where Rika and Sasako actually were magical girls, so maybe that could actually happen. Like most of the characters are female, so it would work out. And the other one would be, it's gotta be Nep. We gotta have a Nep crossover, right? We gotta have a Nep crossover. So that would be my my answers for that. Next up, we have Ilia Estelia, who asks, the question is a little spoiled, but I can't help but asking you. So I'm going to talk about a little about the story here. If you don't want to get spoiled, you probably already have the spoiler on screen reading it right now. But if you, I'm going to talk a little bit about the story. If you don't want to hear me talking about the story, I'm going to put my finger up. While I put my finger up, I'm talking about spoilers. So you can mute the video while I have my finger up, and when I put my finger down again, you can unmute. You can probably just skip ahead in the video until I put my finger down. Anyway, I'm going to talk about spoilers right now. So Ilia asks about Arc 2. Because Midori died, and then Ikumi died. So why did Ikumi die? There was a point where Ikumi was fighting against one of the Mirror Witches, against Sara Mirabilis, and the Mirror Witch was just too powerful. And what happened is the Mirror Witch was sort of keeping open the gateway that Promised Blood used to get to Kamihama. And in order to close that portal, the Mirror Witch had to die, but Ikumi wasn't strong enough. However, Ikumi had a Kimochi stone, and basically Ikumi gave her soul up to the Kimochi stone to have this really powerful, super strong attack that killed the Mirror Witch, but it took Ikumi's life. So she basically pulled a Kyoko in some way. She did like a suicide attack, basically. But yeah, that's basically it. Next up, Woohoo asks, is there a character you anticipate the uncap of, whether it be for gameplay potential or personal choice? In both personal choice and gameplay potential, it's gotta be Rika. How can it not be Rika? She's easily gonna be the best uncap probably of any character out there. At least she has potential to be one of the best uncaps out there out of any character. And secondly, everyone loves Rika. She's one of the most beloved characters in the entire community, and she still hasn't got an uncap in like 5 years. Like, she's not gonna get an uncap until next anniversary. It's basically guaranteed she's not gonna get an uncap until after anniversary 5, maybe. Because they've told us in this year we're gonna get 6 uncaps, and they told us those 6 characters. I have them in my Magia Day video. If you watch the Magia Day video, we'll talk about those 6 characters. Reka isn't among them. She's not among us, so sadly, it's gonna take at least until after the 5th anniversary for there even to be a chance of Reka Uncap, which kind of sucks. But it's gotta be Reka. Moving on, we have a question from who asks, do you play other games, like story games? If so, which games? And ask a little bit which story games. Basically, games where story is the main focus, like My Record, Genshin Impact. Although, in my opinion, in neither of those games is the story actually the focus, but I don't know. Other stuff like maybe like shooter games, puzzle games, many other online games, stuff like that. I don't really play any either competitive online game for the most part. I don't play in general. I just don't really play online games that much, except for just one. I can actually just bring up my Steam overlay right here if I look at my most recently played games. So here's my most recently played games. And with the scoot this over just a little bit. It's actually hard to see. So some of these are idle games. Some of these are games that I played like once or twice, maybe, just to check it out. So not all of these actually have been finished or played for longer than a few minutes. But I guess this is like the fastest way of answering this. I guess I can mention the games that I'm still playing or have finished. So I'm still playing Final Fantasy XIV. Some idle games I have like open on my second monitor while I'm doing other stuff. So I'm not really playing them other than they're just open. Played for Bloodstained, Savage Planet, Psychonauts 2, played this. I didn't play for Valheim. I know I have like 15 hours in it. I didn't play for it. I gotta be honest. I might be the only person who didn't actually like Valheim. I played other survival crafting games like that. Like, for example, I went further down. I played... Oh my god, where is it? It's not down here. Somewhere is Subnautica. There it is. Subnautica and Below Zero and the original one. I love those so much. I did play a whole bunch of like survival crafting games. Out of all of the ones I played, which was like over 20 of them, Valheim I think was the worst, which is weird because most people seem to love Valheim. I don't know, I can't stand it. Other than that, there's a lot of other games that I didn't finish or only played for a little bit. And there's some games that are just so quick that I finished them immediately. Cruelest Squad was amazing. Apart from that, not much. Temtem was great. Temtem is better than any Pokemon game out there. Come at me, guys. Pokemon is fucking it. I play every single Pokemon game, like mainline Pokemon game in existence. Temtem is better than all of them. Easily. Fucking easily. Not even a contest, guys. Get out there. Play Temtem, especially if you didn't like Sword and Shield, which basically is everyone. I don't think there's a single person out there who liked Sword and Shield. That game was a travesty. A travesty not just to Pokemon, but to gaming in general. But yeah, these are like all the games. I don't know exactly what you mean with just story games, like story-driven games, because like I said, in my opinion, Genshin Impact is not a story-driven game, but I guess maybe some people would say different things. But yeah, this is just a quick overview of the games I've been playing in like the last year. So in the last year, these are the games I played. Paradise Killer, by the way, really good game, really good game. You should definitely play Paradise Killer and Spiritfarer and Control. There's some really good games in there. But yeah, and definitely, oh my god, Like a Dragon. Yeah, go Like a Dragon. Oh my god, so good. So yeah, that was that. Moving on with other stuff that we need to worry about. A question from Aladdin himself. That's okay. Will there be any more catching up on JP? Yes, soon. The reason why I haven't done any... Here's the reason why I haven't done any more catching up or story time or lore time. But more specifically, like the catching up on JP videos. The main reason why I haven't done any is because most of the videos that I've done on catching up on JP was me reading summaries and was me asking questions to people that have read it themselves, like people that can read Japanese. So in both cases, I've gotten all my information from second-hand sources. I've asked other people and I've read someone else's summary. And I wanted to actually read the stories myself before making any more catching up on JP video. However, now I actually have an alternate account on a version of the game that is modified in a way that allows me to record and read English text, English translated text, and not machine translation, but like translated by hand by a person in the game. So I can play the game with English text. There is a thing out there. I'm not going to tell you exactly where to get it because, like I said, it has been modified. But with that, now I can actually read stories myself, record it, and then actually make some storytelling out of that. And not just that, because that by itself also wouldn't be enough, because it's actually a really big hassle to record stories. Because when you record a story that has like 60 segments or whatever in the archive, you have to do segment 1, then you put the game on like a second screen while it records, I put it on auto, and then I have to keep looking over every time to see, is it done yet? Is it done yet? And when the segment is over, I have to pull it back over, click on the next segment, and then pull it back again. and I have to remember which segment I was on, because sometimes I forget which segments I was on. It's a really big hassle actually recording all of that, but now, ever since this last 4th anniversary, we have this option where you can just click the first story segment, and it just automatically goes through every single segment in order, and it is so much easier now to record stories. I can just click a single button, go AFK for 5 hours, come back and have the entire story right in front of me. And I can do that while, of course, reading the story myself, so it's like a lot easier now to read and record stories, and with that I can finally make more catching up on JP videos. That said, on the other hand, I'm really busy right now in IRL. Like, I actually need to do a lot of stuff IRL for like the next at least half month. But once I have more free time, I can finally get back to that. Now we have a question from Juan Rodriguez, who asks, how was it as you discovered Madoka Mágica, and was it that captivated you the most? This is going to be surprising a lot of people, maybe, what my first impressions was of Madoka Mágica. So when I went to university first, like the end of, like towards the second half of 2011, and I met some new friends there, and we played some games together and whatever. And like at the beginning of 2012, like beginning to mid 2012, my friends were like, "Hey, you know what, guys? We should watch some anime." And I was like, "Oh yeah, let's watch some anime together." We wanted to watch some anime together. We had like a guy who had a small room, and I would say a small room is like 20 square meters or whatever, like really small, but it had like a TV in it that you could at least like sit a bunch of people down in front of, and we were like, okay, let's use the TV, let's watch some anime, guys. And I think what they did is they just pulled up a list of like the top 10 anime that came out the year before 2011, and the number 1 was like Madoka Mágica, and no one knew anything about it, so we just got the first episode, watched the first episode, and I hated it. I absolutely fucking hated it. The first episode of Madoka Mágica was one of the most unpleasant experiences I ever had watching anime. Why? Because I thought we were gonna watch some really mature, some maybe even some really brutal, some violent stuff, or just some funny stuff, maybe some comedy stuff, any of those things. But it was just pink magical girl stuff, and I was like, dude, I fucking hate magical girl stuff. Like, yeah, maybe as like a 7-year-old kid when like Sailor Moon came on TV, I was like, oh yeah, Sailor Moon. But that was like when I was 7 years old. I was like 18 at the time when I watched Madoka Mágica. I was like, no, get out of there, hated it, never watched it again. Well, I say never, I watched it again like 4 or 5 months later. 4 or 5 months later, I was like, maybe I should give it a second chance. And then I gave it a second chance. I like went into episode 2 and still hated it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it until episode 3. And the main reason why I give it until episode 3 is because I had told another friend of mine on the internet, so not a real life friend of mine, about Madoka Mágica. I was like, why was Madoka Mágica so highly rated? I watched like 2 episodes and it was shit. And that guy was like, I just watched episode 3, and I watched episode 3, and I was like, okay, we're going somewhere. Okay, this is actually all right. And after episode 3, I was like, strap in, get an energy drink, and watch the entire rest of the episode, of like episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all of them. Watched all of them in one big gulp, and I was like, damn, that was amazing. Why did I love it so much at the end? Exactly because I wanted that mature writing. I want mature writing in my anime. My second most favorite anime of all time, if we're talking about serious, is probably Made in Abyss. Also very mature writing in there. Although it does have a little bit more of a childish side, but like the third most liked anime that I would put up there, like the top 3 anime, is a movie. It's The Shape of Voice, or A Silent Voice in English. Also, oh my god, I like it so much. I really like the nuanced, mature writing, and Madoka Mágica is still, in my opinion, the anime that does that the best out of all of them. Yeah, that's basically what got me there, and the rest is history. Hey. We have now a question from Setsurubi who asks, if you were to create your own character and it will be used in later chapter and story, what will it be and why? So here's the thing. I wouldn't act if a developer of F4S came up to me and said, you're gonna make a character right now and it's gonna be in the future of this story, I would tell them no. The main story already has way too many characters. Adding another one to that, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could add another character to the story that wouldn't actually destroy or break the story in some way. Not that it's already broken, but you know. What I would do instead is I would tell you know what, let's remove some characters from main story and like put them in side stories. There's characters that just don't have to be main story. Ryoko, Get her out of there. Ranka, come on, he doesn't have to be main story. Put her in side stories. You can like take at least 1 or 2 characters out of every single faction and just put them in side stories, right? They don't need to be in main stories. Just take them out of it. Just take them out of the main story, guys. We don't need them. We don't need them. The main story is already way too full of all kinds of characters that we don't need, okay? That would actually be what I would say. And while we're at it, I don't know, the next question kind of ties into this a little bit as well, because Gen Z asks, if you could rewrite a character, who would it be and what would you do? Nemou. I would absolutely immediately rewrite Nemou. The entirety of Arc 1. Nemou is the character out of every single character in the game. Nemou is the character with the most squandered potential. Nemou has such a great setup for a character. Like, her backstory, okay, isn't anything super duper amazing, but it does give a really good foundation for future story writing. Her powers are pretty darn unique across any magic girl out there. Her position in the Magus is extremely unique, so she has so much going for her. And then she just does fucking nothing. He does absolutely fucking nothing until she shows up way too late in the story, and then just goes, yeah, whatever Toka says, I'm just gonna say is okay. She doesn't even have her own personality. She just blindly follows Toka in the story, and it's like, oh, come on, guys, is that really the best we can do? And that's basically it. That's all that ever happens to Nemou. That's her entire character. She does nothing, shows up way too late, and then just parrots Toka. Wow, great fucking character. But she has so much potential, so I would rewrite Nemou, and I would make her one of the focal points of the story. Nemou is directly in the center of all of the shit that Magus does, and she could be kind of like in the anime. She could actually be against what Toka does and sort of give a counter to Toka and try to actually help the main characters out a little bit, and that's kind of what I would have done as well. It's like crazy that the anime does that, but if you asked me a year ago what I would do with Nemou, I probably would have said that, you know what, actually do that. I don't know if I actually said that in a video. I've definitely said it on the Discord multiple times. Like, people know on the Discord, I've said it even as early as like over a year ago. I've said on the Discord, if I ever were to make a rewrite of the story, like Arc 1, which I probably never will because it takes so goddamn much effort and time, like half a year of effort for something that only like a handful of people would read. It's not worth it. I have so much stuff going on IRL, I can't be doing that. But if I ever did do a rewrite, I would actually have Nemou as a main character on the protagonist side. And I had like a whole thing lined up for how that would work out, and I had like a sort of basic outline for how exactly that would work out, and I was really proud of that. And I told a handful of people about that, and they were like, yeah, that's actually really fucking cool. I would have loved to see that. So yeah, I would put it on the protagonist side, but in a different way. It would not be just the Nemou that we know. It would be a little bit different, but you know, if I ever do the rewrite, or at least maybe someday I would at least like give an outline. I would like write down at least like a first draft for just the outline of the rewrite, and then maybe put that up somewhere just to show people what I would have done instead. So yeah, moving on, we have a question from Mo, who asks the favorite and least favorite difference between My Hero anime and game story. The least favorite difference is the fact that the anime just has so much less time to actually explain all of its story. I think nothing that the anime actively does is stuff that I hate. Everything the anime actively does is stuff that I at least am okay with. But just the fact that we have to skip a whole bunch of stuff, or we have to cram stuff together, we have to go quickly through a whole bunch of story beats, that really hurts the anime, but there's not really much they can do about that. Unless you were to give them like 2 or 3 times as many episodes, there was just no way of getting around that. So I know that even though there was no way around that, it still sucks really hard that we just have so much less time to tell basically the same story. My favorite difference though is that doubles actually fucking mean something in the anime. Doubles in the anime are legitimately scary. They have drawbacks. They can either kill you or people around you, or they can trap you forever. They do all kinds of really crazy stuff that you definitely don't want to have happen to you. So definitely the number one favorite difference is that in the anime, doubles actually are kind of scary. Moving on, Walter Clements asked, the story behind your signature forehead. So when I was 22, my hair fell out. Yeah, it's like hereditary, there was nothing I can do about that. And after that, I just shaved my hair. And I decided that if I'm gonna be bald, I'm gonna own up to it. I thought if I was gonna be bald anyway, why not make it my brand? And then I made it my brand. That's basically the entire story behind my forehead and my lack of hair. So that's just what happens to guys sometimes. Next up, we have a question from Mooncakes, who said, if I had a doppel, what would it look like and what would be its name? I think it would be something like Bernadette, the doppel of paradise, which is realm-shaped. The entire doppel, or actually rather, it would kind of create its own barrier locally. And the witch would actually, or the doppel in this case, would actually be the entire barrier itself. That's basically something. I think that there needs to be more doppels that actually like create areas like labyrinths or whatever, because every witch creates a labyrinth. In the anime, some doppels actually do create a labyrinth. Why not do more than that? I would like to have more doppels that actually like create labyrinths and stuff. I think that would be really helpful. It would be really cool, and my doll would definitely do that. I probably would have to have an entire discussion about like what sort of OC stuff I would ever do, but that's probably something along those lines. Next up, question from Kyuku, who says, least favorite or most frustrating annoying character Star Wars gameplay-wise. Toka, absolutely Toka. Toka is basically just a fascist dictator who is incredibly shallow, no character depth to her at all. She's just extremely annoying. Yeah, she's just a loli that's extremely annoying. And I don't know, there's like nothing positive about Toka other than, you know, some people find that she's kind of cute or whatever, but yeah. I will say that even though I keep going on about how much I dislike Toka, I don't actually like passionately hate her. Like, I'm not one of those guys who will like go out there on boards and be like, oh my god, Toka is such a terrible character, I hate her so much. Or when someone says that they like Toka, I'm gonna be like, oh no, Toka is actually terrible. I'm that kind of guy. I'm just like, if you ask me like who you dislike, I'm like, nah, I don't like Toka, whatever. Like sometimes I make jokes about, oh man, Toka on the trash can, whoop-de-doop-de-doo. We have an emote that's like Toka on the trash can, whoop-de-doo. It's just, I'm mostly looking at it like as a joke. I don't actually have any passionate dislike to any character. That's basically about that. But yeah, definitely Toka, because writing-wise, Toka is an absolute travesty, and she's annoying as fuck. And gameplay-wise, she's terrible either. But although if we're acting purely gameplay-wise, there's also no character that I really dislike gameplay-wise. But I'll say the character that I think is the most useless character gameplay-wise in the entire game is easily Seda. Why is Seda even in the game, like gameplay-wise? Her kid is completely terrible and does nothing. So yeah, Seda, just terrible. We now have a question from heiheilow, who asks, in which gacha would you have to feel the best rolls, in which gacha you have the worst rolls? The best rolls I ever had, I think, was in, might have been Final Tar, but I think I got a 4 slot in like 150, 160, I forgot how many. I think I have a video on that, but it was like less than 200 rolls for 4 slot on Final Tar, which was pretty darn lucky. I might have gotten 4 slot Homura, like cool Homura in 110 or 120 rolls. I'm not quite sure on that, but that's what I had. The worst rolls that I had was, I think, somewhere between 300 and 400 rolls on a normal Kanagi, and I got her maybe like once, like 300 to 400 rolls, which was okay. I got her like 2 slot later on, I think. Like after that, I think I got spooked by her on some other gacha, so like, Then we have a question from Tiger, who asks, favorite character from each faction and what type of new skill would I like to add to the game? About the skill that I would add is something that makes blasts more interesting, but I don't know what much it could be. Maybe like a skill that, like as a buff, would make blasts hit every single tile for that turn, which sounds extremely powerful against multi-tile bosses, but it still wouldn't be as powerful as charge conservation. Like charge conservation is probably the strongest buff that has ever been put into the game. So I think a buff where like for one turn blasting at every single tile, I think that would be totally fine. I think that would be great. It would actually make blast more interesting against multi-tile bosses again. So yeah, that would be something. Favorite character from each faction? Okay, let's start with the easiest one, Neomagus. Okay, the reason why Neomagus is easy is not because haha forehead Hagumu, forehead Hagumu, blah. I don't actually like Hagumu that much. But the thing is about Neomagus that I basically hate every single character in Neomagus, okay? Maybe not hate is a strong word, like I said. But if we're talking about more like than dislike, I think I dislike every single character in Neomagus more than I like them, okay? And Hagumu is like the only character in Neomagus that I think is okay. So Hagumu is okay. The entire rest of Neomagus is like, they're easily like the most, it sounds weird to say, but they're like the most evil faction, even though we have like the Promised Blood, who kill people all the time. They're still not as evil as Neomagus somehow. I don't know how that works. But yeah, Promised Blood, favorite character, it's either Sakuya or Ao. I think that they're both really strong characters. It's probably Sakuya. Sakuya is an absolutely phenomenal character. I was debating on making like a lore time video about Sakuya really long ago. I probably will actually make a lore time on Sakuya at some point. I mean, this actually, I mean, since last chapter, I might have been given some urge to do a video like that about Sakuya, but you know, maybe I'll make a lot of time about Sakuya, because Sakuya is probably the best character in all of Arc 2, in my opinion. What other factions are there? There's Polar Care. It's probably Livia. I think Livia's a pretty cool character. I really like characters who are who seem to have a dark, mysterious past. Maybe we've done some shit in the past, but they're not like, you know what, let's be a good person instead. Although there's some contention on whether Livia is actually a good person or not, but yeah, I do like her a lot. And to be honest, Sudachi and Yosuru are fairly shallow characters, very simple characters. Anyway, what other factions are there? There's Tokime clan. So for Tokime, a lot of characters in Tokime I'm just sort of like about. I mean, they're not bad. Tokime is like the most sort of faction. But I gotta say Shizuka. Shizuka is a really good character. I really like Shizuka, although most of that comes from Manga Report, because in Manga Report Shizuka is absolutely hilarious. But if we're talking about Manga Report, Shizuka is still a pretty good character. I really like Shizuka, I gotta say. Chihiro is also pretty good, but talking about I was almost gonna say Asahi, because Asahi was really badass, but apart from being badass, we don't actually know that much about Asahi. And she's not even playable yet, so we don't even know her backstory or anything about her. But Asahi, maybe if her backstory is really cool, she might be up there. For the Kameyama Magia Union, I was gonna say Ren, but I don't think she's officially part of Magia Union. So instead, if we talk about characters that are officially Magia Union, it's gonna be Shizuku. Shizuku has gotta be up there. What else kind of factions are there? Are there any other factions? Oh yeah, Folklore of Zero. So Folklore of Zero is gotta be a Rabi. But the thing is about Folklore of Zero is we don't know anything about any of the characters. The only character we know something about is Alexandra, Sasha basically. And Sasha, we know her backstory and so kind of her stuff, but she's kind of boring in my opinion. She's a very boring character, and she's a thought, dude. What? She tried to get there. She tried to like seduce an adult. What the fuck? That's not good. But yeah, I think Rabi is pretty cool. I like Rabi a lot. So hopefully Rabi gets added to the game at some point. And then I don't know if I'm gonna roll for it. I need to have a lot of rolls left over, and it needs to actually be good in gameplay. Next we have a question from Darkana, who asks, who was your first character you rolled for? And if you remember, who was your first spook? I have the game open. Bam. I have it set up so that the oldest stuff is on the left, then it like goes up by date, basically ordered by date. So of course the first one is Marakan. You see, Ilham, you see where I started on the left here on the 31st of August. I wanted to play the game on release, but region lock. It took me a few days to figure out how to get around the region lock and actually play it. I wanted to play it on my phone originally, but the phone I had was too bad to play it, so it kind of took a little bit to actually get into the game, like get around all the region lock and all that other stuff. But you'll see the first character I rolled for was Madoka. Oh yeah, Madoka was the first character I rolled for. Because I just wanted to have any 4-star character. Like, right, I would want to have any 4-star character, and Madoka is like, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it's Madoka, sure, why not? And that I got her off like 2 10 rolls. You can see like the first 10 roll, you can see the first 10 roll over here on the left, and the second 10 roll over here on the right, and she's right there with my second 10 roll. After that, I didn't roll for a rather long time, actually. Until the end of September. Like, I didn't roll for almost an entire month. I mean, like, specifically for 4-star characters. Although, I did roll for Kazumi, and I got a 4 slot. I had, like, actually, it wasn't that many rolls. I didn't get a 4 slot immediately, okay? I got her, like, 2 slot, maybe even 3 slot, in, like, 200 rolls or something. Like, all the rolls that I'd saved up since release, I put into this, and I got really lucky. Like, she was almost the most lucky I got, but not quite, in, like, 3 slot and 200 rolls, and then very much later on, way later on, during, it wasn't the rerun, but it was some sort of attribute gacha where she was in, and I got her 4th slot. The first time I got Spook, though, is over here. So, Ren, she's not my first Spook, but during this time, on this date, there was a gacha for, like, dark type raid ups, okay? There was a gacha for dark type raid ups. And in that gacha, I wanted to get Ren. And I got Sakuya instead. However, that's not the end of the story. Because there's a mummy over there. And the reason why I brought up Ren first is because I know that I rolled for Ren because I wanted to get her a despawn. So I got a 1 slot at that point, and then I never rolled specifically for Ren ever again. But she just spooked me like 7 or 8 times after that on other gachas, so okay. But here's the thing is, I know that I specifically rolled for Ren and I got spooked by Tsukuyo once before that. However, I got Mummy before that, and I have no idea what I even rolled for. I actually have no fucking idea what I even rolled for to get Mummy. I might have rolled for Holy Mummy and gotten regular Mummy instead, because 16th of December might have been around the time that Holy Mummy came out, and I might have just chucked in like a single or two 10 rolls, and I might have gotten spooked by regular Mummy. I think that might have been it. I didn't get Holy Mummy ever, so yeah, that's the thing. And if you go down the list, by the way, and you look at my most recent characters, these are my most recent characters. These are all spooks, by the way. So this is Motokomi Senpai. I rolled for these specifically. This is a spook, this is a spook, this is a spook. These I rolled for, this is a spook, this is a spook, this I rolled for, this is a spook, this I just got, and this is a spook. So I got a lot of spooks recently, but I think we're going to be alright. Yeah, that was just what I wanted to show you guys with this. Snooze asks, favorite dish for dinner? Okay. Pizza, but not just any pizza, okay? Specifically pizza that has mushrooms, champignons on it. Champignons are absolutely fantastic on pizza. Some salami, sure to give it some texture with some, of course, some cheese, but not extra cheese. Too much cheese is also bad, actually. Fills you up too fast. But at this point, we just had a regular mushroom pizza with some salami on it, which is fine. But here's the secret ingredient, okay? And all this is gonna be weird, okay? It's not as weird as pineapple, okay? I'm not gonna go there, okay? Pineapple is, we're not gonna go to pineapple. But here's the secret ingredient that is probably easily the most underrated ingredient on pizza. Put a fucking egg on it. You take an egg, while the pizza is baking, you just crack an egg in the center of the pizza and just put that in the oven, and it's so goddamn good. Like putting an egg on pizza, I don't mean like hard-boiled egg, cutting it into slices and then putting it on there. No, that sucks. I mean like cracking an egg onto the pizza while it bakes. That is actually so fucking good. And all of that together, it sounds weird, but oh my God, I've never had anything that tastes as amazing as that. Some pizzerias make it. I think something like that is called like an Osole Mio in some pizzerias. But when I looked it up, the Osole Mio pizza, it's something completely different in every single pizzeria. So it's just like that in my local pizzeria. But damn, that is fucking good. So that is absolutely my favorite dish for dinner. However, I eat a pizza like that maybe once a year, because it's only when I go to that specific pizzeria that has that, and I have like no reason to actually go out for food because I'm like here. When I'm actually at home, which is like 99.9% of the time, because I work from home, and if you work from home, like, well, I'm not gonna go out and meet friends during the pandemic. Gotta stay at home during the pandemic. That sucks. But when I'm just here, I don't have any favorite dish because I basically hate everything I eat. It sounds dumb, but there's not really anything that I eat that I specifically love. I eat stuff that I like dislike less than other stuff, but I don't particularly like anything I eat. Moving on, we have a question from Pudding Loli, who asks, favorite unpopular lesser known ship? On one hand, Mana Sana. Like Manaka and Sana was such a good ship when it was first revealed during Manaka's MSS. And I thought that was going to be a really good ship going forward, but it never went anywhere, and it really sucks. Another ship that I would say is way underrated is Sakuya and Ryoko. I know they're a ship that people know about, like people know about Sakuya and Ryoko, but it's still like a ship that's like less popular than almost any Arc 1 ship, which sucks because I think Sakuya and Ryoko is one of the best ships that has ever come out of Manga Record and probably will ever come out of Manga Record, and most people don't even care about it or don't even know that much about it. But yeah, Sakura and Yoko are an absolute fantastic ship that I think is way too underrated. Moving on, we have a question from Deeplease, who says, out of all the characters released from January to now, which of them has the best value? Also, who's your favorite Arc 2 character story-wise and gameplay-wise? Story-wise, Sakuya. Gameplay-wise, I don't think I can answer that because I don't think I have any good Arc 2 characters that have been released. So I have a list of Arc 2 characters right here. There's a list of all characters, and I think somewhere around Chiharu right here is when the Arc 2 characters start. Gameplay-wise, I guess it's gotta be Yuna, because I think almost killing yourself to do more damage, I think that's funny as fuck. I think it's funny as fuck. That's some of the funniest active out there. But apart from that, story-wise, Sakuya. If we're talking about which character has been the most useful since January of this year, there's three choices for that. The first choice is Ashley. Ashley is the best all support character in the game. So on your alt slot, Ashley is the best choice. Bar none, not even a contest. If you have Ashley at least at 2 slot, give her the 2 best damage memoria for blast you can find, and just put her on your alt slot. She's the best for that. Or give her event memoria, right? And even just generally for any kind of PvE farming. If you're farming any PvE stage, anything outside of mirrors, anything outside of Kimochi, she's gonna be up there. She's gonna be a top pick, and specifically for farming currency on events, she's the #1 pick. Nothing gets above that, and probably will not get above that for a really long time. So she's incredibly valuable for that. Next up, we have Murakami Senpai, who is absolutely incredible in Kimochi, probably the best Kimochi ever released in terms of value for every Kimochi. Like, every single Kimochi is going to have its own share, a cast of characters that's going to be really super duper powerful. But Murakami Senpai is kind of incredible on every single Kimochi. Even if it's a Kimochi that is like a fire type, where she's light type, she doesn't really do much against it, she's still a top pick. Because she's just that goddamn fucking powerful. I don't mean her like her own damage, just the fact that she gives infinite chance conservation to everyone is just so goddamn broken. It's just so incredibly goddamn broken. So she's incredibly valuable for that. If you have a 4 slot Murakami Senpai, you are guaranteed the best division on any single Kimochi, no matter what type it is. I mean, with best division like SS rank. So you get like, the more damage you do, the higher rank you get, and I think like SS rank is the best you can get. You're basically guaranteed that if you have Murakami Senpai at 4 slot, even no matter what kind of element it is. So he's actually extremely valuable for that. And the third choice for overall gameplay has to be Maruka Iroha, as much as I don't want to kind of say it because Maruka Iroha kind of boring as a concept. But in ranked mirrors, they could be really good because of their Excel draw. In Kimochi, they can be really good because of both Excel draw and their double, doing some cool stuff. Like, just generally, they're an extremely solid character that does extremely well in most places. But they're the most boring out of all these. Like, at least Murakami Senpai is kind of funny, and Ashley is Ashley, right? But still, that's like the 3 units that I think since January were like the best units in terms of value across all content. Moving on, we have a question from a Baguette of Revenge, who asks favorite unappreciated Megoka. Favorite unappreciated Megoka, once again, it's gotta be Sakuya, right? If we're talking about Arc 2, we're talking about Arc 1. It's also gonna be Shizuku. Like, Shizuku and Sakuya are like the 2 most underrated characters in the entire game. No contest. No contest. There's no other characters that are that fucking good and that well written that no one gives a shit about. And it's really sad. It's especially sad with Sakuya, because Sakuya is one of the best written characters in the entire game, and she's actually one of the most hated characters in the game. We had a survey recently on a Discord, and as part of that survey, one of the questions was, what's your least favorite Megoka? And Sakuya was up there, which is ridiculous because she's such a great character. But you know why? People don't read her story. People didn't read her event. It wasn't actually translated. I think it's still not translated. And people just see, oh, big eyes, and they download her, and it kind of sucks, you know. But yeah, Shizuku and Sakuya are definitely the 2 most underappreciated Megoka. The second to last question from Tubi Kaloa, who asks, when will you make another JP recap for Arc 2? We basically had this question up there already. By the way, this is the reverse chronological order. So this was actually asked first. This was asked first, and then later someone else asked for another catching up on JP. But yeah, basically the same answer soon, I hope. I'm not quite sure which story I'll do yet. I need to check which story actually makes sense to put in here. Probably main story. I'll probably maybe do some main story stuff. Although main story is the one that also takes the most amount of work, because main story, one main story chapter is like 3 times as long as a regular event story, so it's really quite a lot to work out. And most of the stuff in main story is like important. Most of the stuff in many events, most of the stuff that happens doesn't really matter too much. But in main story, most of the stuff that happens does actually kind of matter. So yeah, but soon, not quite sure when. And the last question from Chicken Wing Handlover, who asks, who's your favorite Megoka? Ren. That was it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.